I've got your energy stories for the 4th week of June 2024, and I've got a lot of long-duration energy storage stories. We'll see many more long-duration projects in the years to come as the grid becomes increasingly saturated with renewables. The planning challenge then increasingly focuses on so-called energy droughts when the wind doesn't blow or the sun doesn't shine for days on end. Within a few years, the typical 4-hour energy shift from midday to evening peak like we're seeing in California today likely won't be the main focus anymore for storage. Instead, eyes and attention will shift to resource adequacy. The challenge of keeping the lights on when well over half the capacity in the grid is renewable. Those storage resources won't be needed all the time, but they'll be critical for periods when the wind resources and the sunshine don't show up. So the California Energy Commission just approved almost $27 million in funding for 3 long-duration energy storage projects to serve disadvantaged, low-income, and tribal communities. The solicitation specifically called for a minimum of 100 kilowatts of electrochemical or thermal battery resources with at least 24 hours of duration. The winners were Redflow, Redox Blocks, and Noon Energy. Redflow will install a 1.5 megawatt, 6.6 megawatt hour zinc bromine flow battery system that will be integrated into a microgrid and be able to offer at least 100 kilowatts for over 24 hours. Redox Blocks will deploy a 3 megawatt hour thermal battery with its proprietary storage material that can be heated to 1500 degrees centigrade and relies upon air expansion to drive a turbine and deliver energy for over 24 hours as well. And Noon Energy won its bid for a 100 kilowatt, 10 megawatt hour reverse carbon dioxide to carbon storage system that will be tied to a PV array to offer 24 hours of energy. Meanwhile, in New York State, the New York State Energy Research Development Authority is offering $5 million for long-duration projects yielding up to 10 hours of duration. The state currently has a goal of 3,000 megawatts of storage with 6,000 megawatts by 2030. Also in the Empire State, Central Hudson Gas and Electric just issued an RFP for at least 10 megawatts of grid-connected energy storage systems in its southeast New York service territory. The storage industry as a whole continues to score points on the board. Wood Mackenzie reports that Q1 of 2024 saw record numbers for the quarter. Q4 is normally the seasonal winner. Q1 saw 993 megawatts and 2,952 megawatt hours across all market segments, up 84% from Q1 of last year in terms of megawatts and 89% in megawatt hours. Nevada, Texas, and California garnered over 90% of that. Grid-scale storage prices fell 39%, largely having to do with oversupply in China. And meanwhile, residential didn't do too badly at 250 megawatts overall, with only 32 megawatts in California. So on-site storage in the resi space is certainly being democratized. In New York, the Sunrise Wind project off its coast, jointly owned by Ørsted and Eversource, 942 megawatts, just received the okay for its construction and operations plan from the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management. That's the last piece of federal paper needed to commence construction 30 miles off Long Island, and that construction will start in earnest later this year with expected commissioning in 2026. The Department of Energy is providing $900 million of funding from the bipartisan infrastructure law to support deployment of light water, small modular reactors. The first round will offer up to $800 million to the first 2 mover teams that can put reactors in the ground and find off-takers and end users committed to deploying that first plant. The second round of funding will see support of up to $100 million to fix, quote, key gaps, unquote, affecting the domestic nuclear industry in areas such as design and licensing, supplier development, and site preparation. And finally, also in the nuke space, a rare bipartisan effort saw Congress pass a nuclear bill known as the ADVANCE Act. It directs the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to look for ways to accelerate its new nuclear technology licensing process, setting aside federal funding to support licensing and permitting costs for the first advanced nuclear developer to successfully deploy a technology in the field. Well, that's all for this week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next week.